Good Friday morning, a feel-good summer Friday. Sal Licata in for Boomer, Fleegs in for Al, Rascona in for Eddie, CeeLo in for Jerry. We are all back together on Monday at Giants camp. And what a start to this 5-game stretch for the Mets. You wanted it to be a little more of a rocking chair when you're up 5-0, and you thought that maybe you would get that, but the agita set in, of course, because the Braves are not going to die. But the Mets do hold them off with 6 outs from Edwin Diaz, which is something that set up perfectly because he hadn't pitched in a long time, not something that he normally does, and I don't know if this is something he's going to continue to do, but he was able to have a dominant 8th inning and a little bit of a dicey 9th inning, then they got bailed out by that weird check swing 3-0 to end the game. But this is what you wanted, especially with the pitching matchups. We said yesterday, if you get this first one, that sets up really, really well for you. The Mets got the first one. Good morning, Sal. How you feeling?
Great. And look, maybe we're undervaluing or underestimating Carlos Carrasco because you're right. On the matchups, everybody's worried about. You know, Walker's been dominant and Scherzer and DeGrom. And you look at Carrasco as maybe a guy who that Braves powerful lineup could get to. To his credit, he did the good job. Hey, look, you're going to give up a home run. It happens. Acuna's a great player. Braves are going to hit. They're going to score some runs. I mean, I didn't think the Mets are going to win these games easily. And by the way, you don't get style points. Doesn't matter. Just win the freaking game. Now, you would have liked less stress, obviously, and you would have liked not having to go to Diaz for 2 innings there. But they did the job. And I just thought, you felt it watching in the game. The tone was set early on.
Yeah.
They came out. They're the home team. Carlos Carrasco set the tone, shutting the Braves down. Then the offense goes out there, goes to work. Score a run early. Alonso with a big home run, obviously tacking on more. The Mets did their job. Naquin, the guy that they trade for, and everybody's like, oh, who the hell is this scrub? He goes out there and shows you he could be a solid upgrade over Jankowski. It was a nice team win and a great start to this huge 5-game series.
I think you saw the best and the worst of the trade deadline last night. Now, Billy Epler is probably walking around with a smirk on his face when Naquin's hitting the 2 home runs. Vogelback hits another home run, and he is contributing seemingly every single night. So he's probably walking around going, all right, everybody can get off my ass for the offensive stuff.
Right.
But then again, you're in a situation last night. Now, I know that they had to use Lugo when they didn't want to use Lugo in the last game of the National Series, and maybe that would have changed some things, but I'm not so sure. Even if Lugo was fully rested and didn't throw those 8 pitches or whatever it was the day before, I still think that maybe Buck would have gone to Edwin Diaz for those 6 outs. But if they did have somebody else or acquired somebody else like a David Robertson, what would have happened was you probably still would have seen Diaz in the 8th against the meat of the lineup, and then another pitcher that you trusted in the 9th. And the Mets don't have that other guy right now. And nobody is on the level of Edwin Diaz, and he was fully rested, and Buck gave it a shot, and I liked what he did last night. But that's something that projects in the future, and that is a hole that this team has.
And honestly, my feelings watching it were, I didn't love the decision to have Diaz go out there for a second inning. I get it, and it was the best option. I just didn't love it because then I'm thinking, this team screwed up. This is the only thing that they needed. You look at the lineup, and I was talking about it a little bit with CeeLo during the warm-up show. Like, this is as loaded a team as they have had. I mean, McCann, I know he stinks, but he's batting 9th. That is a deep lineup. So offensively, we can nitpick and say they didn't get this guy, they didn't get that guy. They're fine offensively. Their lineup is solid. It's good. The rotation, come on, DeGrom, Scherzer, Walker, Bassett, Carrasco. I mean, we know the rotation is loaded. And we know the bullpen has holes, but if they just had one guy that you could trust outside of Diaz, it'd be a totally different story. And that's what made me mad about last night. This could be a complete team if they went and got a legit 8th inning guy.
And not to make you madder, but this is something we have talked about prior to knowing this team was going to be this good for months.
Right.
Beginning of the season, they'll add to the bullpen. It's obviously a position of weakness for them. They will add to it. Billy Epler, when he makes the Vogelback trade, says, well, it's a very robust reliever market, so we feel like we can deal a guy like Holderman and not really miss a beat, and we'll go out and acquire some guys. And basically, you bring in Givens, that's it, and you don't feel any more different about the bullpen. Trevor May comes back, but still, you feel like there was an opportunity missed there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you with the frustration there, but still, I think that the dominance of Edwin Diaz takes a little bit of that frustration away because right now there is nobody in Major League Baseball that is touching how great he is. And if that continues into the postseason, that's a weapon that is going to be unleashed that the Mets really haven't had in a very long time. I mean, you think about some of their closers that were dominant at times, like, Benitez, dominant regular season closer,
Right.
never really trusted him in the postseason. Billy Wagner, same type of thing. K-Rod, you think about Jerry's Familia, had one of the great regular seasons that we had ever seen from a closer, but if you're putting him in a situation in the postseason, you don't love it. If he pitches like this, the Mets will have something that I don't think that they have had in a postseason run in, years and years and years.
I can't speak on Tug McGraw, but it's the best that I've seen in my life.
Sure, yeah.
I don't. And look, 86, again, different story with Orozco, McDowell. We're talking about, like, recent history here. And I do think when all's said and done, Edwin Diaz is going to have the best season. I mean, look at what he's done, dude. This is historic. Like,
it's not stopping either.
It is going to be the best season for a closer in franchise history, and maybe by far. But I loved Familia in 2015. This is different. And it could be a weapon. I just see where guys thrive in certain situations, right? Mm-hmm. I hate the idea of trying to, let's see if we can get a little bit more like, he excels in closing out ball games or just in the one inning against the best team, against the best part of the lineup. 8th inning last night, fine. Or 9th inning normally, whatever it may be. Asking him to get 2 inning saves regularly, I feel like at some point that's going to catch up with him. Now, maybe not. Maybe it doesn't. You're right. It is a weapon, and it's great to be able to go to a 5-out save, whatever it may be. Maybe this doesn't have to be the 2 complete innings come postseason time, and maybe they could find somebody to bridge that gap. It's a great weapon. I worry a little bit because he's excelled and so great with the 1 inning. If you bring him out for the 2nd inning, it does lose a little bit of what he is.
To me, though, this was circumstantial more than anything. Like, I wouldn't really worry about that being a thing, especially in the regular season the rest of the way. And the circumstances were that led to this. The rest that Diaz had, the fact that Lugo had pitched the previous day when he wasn't supposed to, and it's the Braves, and you feel like if you got this first game, because we talk so much about Buck and the preparation and going ahead and whatever, and this was and Carrasco's been great, but still this was one of the pitching matchups that you were like, all right, the Braves probably have a little bit of an advantage where the Mets have an advantage in some of these other games. I think Buck was like, I'm not messing around. I mean, you said it yourself, I heard with CeeLo, maybe 75% of Diaz in that 9th inning is better than 100% of whoever else you're going to put out there.
Option.
So I don't think this is something like, oh, we saw him do it now, and now we're going to have him do that 3, 4, 5 times the rest of August and September.
Also, you had the heart of the Braves order up in the 8th inning. That played a factor. And that the Mets couldn't tack on in the 9th, which, by the way, is one of the reasons why I love the idea of a manager going to the closer against the best part of the order in the 8th inning. Because in the 9th inning, your team could tack on, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
So, they had that opportunity. I thought they were for a little while, and maybe take the pressure off of Buck and Diaz and go with somebody else. But you're right. The circumstances led to him going the 2 innings. He got the job done. He's not going to be available tonight, which is fine, and you hope that the Mets bats. And I do think Buck looks ahead and says, well, Anderson's been awful for Atlanta. This is a night where our lineup is going to go out there and win it for us, and we trust Walker to give 6, 7 innings, and I could figure out with Lugo maybe could give you a 2-inning performance himself. I do think he looks ahead to that. I just don't want it to become a thing in the postseason. I feel like you push and go to the well too often, I'd be afraid to get burnt. And in the postseason, as you know, all it takes is 1, and you're screwed.
Yeah, and it's going to be tempting for him because, as we said, this season that he's having is unmatched, and there really isn't somebody else that you're saying, all right, this is lockdown 8th inning bridge to Diaz. I mean, the bridge to Diaz is a little bit scary. Now, most teams that have playoffs experience and you think about what they lack when they get knocked out, the bullpen is the thing that everybody always talks about. Right. So it's not as if the Mets are in some sort of unique position. There's very few teams that, maybe you talk about like the Indians, a few of the former Indians a few years ago, or, you saw the Nationals deployed their starters in the bullpen, but it's very rare when you go into the postseason and you're like, all right, 7, 8, 9. The Royals that one year had it.
Sure.
But outside of that, it doesn't really happen, but they still needed to upgrade at the trade deadline. I'm just trying to say, like, you've got a dominant closer and some other good guys. You still should be okay with the rest of this team.
And by the way, you know who the guy to get was. And when you look at the Yankees, Brian Cashman tries to load up on that bullpen all the time. I mean, now they may not have, not all those moves may pan out, but at least they have options where we look at the Mets and say, well, it's got to be one of these 3 have to become that 8th inning guy. Cashman's got like 10 guys who you could say, all right, well, A couple of these guys, some of them got to develop into guys that we could trust.
So who would you rather have? What situation would you rather have, though? Like the Yankees who are struggling to find who. Now, I know that Holmes has been great, but I mean.
With Diaz, I know.
Have you seen him recently? And then Chapman rounding into shape, maybe, but who the hell knows? He's so volatile. So there's a lot of arms there, but I mean, I'd still rather have the game is over guy. And right now, the Mets have that.
The guy that they should have added, and I know we've been focusing on Robertson, and I'm not sure they could have gotten him because of the prospect match, whatever, but Iglesias was the guy.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm not saying he would have been dominant or a known thing here, but if Iglesias is in that game in the ninth inning after Diaz, you feel good about it and say, okay, let's see what this guy can do. Because he's been a closer before, he could have been that guy, and it would have cost money. That's the issue. So when everybody's talking about the prospects, at least the way that I understood it and read it after the fact was, I think it was Joel Sherman had it in the post, that the Mets could have had Iglesias if they were willing to take on the money. Atlanta did. Atlanta has him. So not only do the Mets miss out on an arm that they could have used, he goes to the Braves. And I just don't understand it. Like, I don't understand how you and I can sit there, and I get that fans are going to be irrational and illogical at times and, not have the patience or discipline that organizations need. But is that asking too much?
No.
A clear weakness that they had. Like, I'll live with Vogelback and Ruff. Fine. And Naquin, I get it. Even though we wanted the sexier name, the splashier name, I get it. We'll live with it. And I do think the offense will be fine. However, how could you sell that bullpen with this loaded rotation, with this very good, if not loaded, lineup? How could you sell this rotation, but this bullpen?
Yeah, I wonder how everything played out there with Billy Epler and the swing and the miss and how you lost out on two of these top relievers to teams in your division. I'd love to know how it played out. Was it his fault? I mean, did he even get an opportunity to pitch that to Steve Cohen about bringing in somebody just for money? Like, I wish I knew how it all played out, and we're never really going to know. And my fear is, and I think your fear is, that we're going to be watching postseason games and still thinking about the last couple of days when they didn't upgrade when they needed to. That's the biggest fear.
Well, think about the feeling last night. It was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I know that it's a tight game, and, the Braves are a good team, and it's never going to be, rocking chair or that comfortable in that spot. And that's what I'm thinking, oh, my God, I don't know if I can handle the stretch of the postseason like this. But you feel a lot more comfortable if you had another arm. And look, you may get beat anyway. Maybe they get Iglesias or they get Robertson and those guys get beat. Fine, it happens. But right now, there's nobody there that you could go to that you feel good about. Not Trevor May, not Lugo. Now, as I was saying before, they need one of those guys. Tyler McGill, Trevor May, Seth Lugo.
Somebody's got to step up and be great for them. And it's possible.
It is possible because Lugo's done it before. Trevor May's been a good reliever before, and I do think Tyler McGill has potential. One of those three. Now, if they ever get two of those three, forget it. But one of those three has to be the 7/8 inning guy that you could trust, along with, I guess, Ottavino to a lesser extent. And obviously, to get to Edwin Diaz in the ninth inning. But I would have liked one more arm.
And even though McCann has been brutal, I loved what he said yesterday about, even though they were trying to acquire a catcher, they did not, and it shows the faith that they have in us, and I really want to be able to show them what I can do because they put the faith in me. That's what I want, that same mentality from those guys in the bullpen. All right, you didn't upgrade here. We are the guys that have been here, so show them. By the way, if you become that guy at any point in your career in the postseason, it pays off for you. Like, if you have a great run in the postseason, if you're Trevor May or you're Seth Lugo, or let's say McGill goes into the bullpen, at some point in your career, that becomes a part of your resume, and then people are going to want to pay you for that. So this is a tremendous opportunity for those guys, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that one steps up and is great in those big moments.
And by the way, you could throw Givens in that bunch, too. I know that he had a terrible first outing with the Mets. He was pitching to a 2.6 ERA. He's just another arm that at least has the potential, I guess, to be a guy that could get some eighth inning outs.
Yeah, I know. I feel like because he was the guy we ended up with and his initial outing, none of us are looking at him as a savior. It's sort of like a joke at this point. Now he's got an opportunity to prove us wrong.
Like Billy Taylor. Remember when they got Billy Taylor?
Oh, my God, Billy Taylor. Jesus.
Remember that? I forget if it was it Terrence Long or something like that. They made a trade to get
Terrence Long,
Billy Epler. Billy Taylor from the A's.
Oakland. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he was a dominant closer at the time for the A's. The Mets got him. He did nothing.
Who was your least favorite Mets reliever of all time?
Probably a tie between Bobby Parnell.
Okay.
And
it's a good one.
Mel Rojas.
Those are two good ones.
And there might be more in there. I mean, there were some lousy ones, as you know.
You know who I really
Doug Henry, remember him?
Yeah, no, he was awful. The guy I irrationally hated was Mike Stanton because he was a Yankee.
He was so good with the Yankees.
He was so good with the Yankees, and he came over here and he wasn't like the worst of the worst, but I hated that guy in a Mets uniform. Yeah. I could not stand Mike Stanton. And then Benitez, I had a lot of like good Benitez moments. Like I remember going a ton of games during that tenure and getting excited when he came in. But like obviously, like the blow up potential for him was horrendous.
Yeah, right. And usually at a big spot.
Yeah,
he was still good though. I mean, overall, I think I don't look back at Benitez being one of the worst. I look at Parnell. I look at like Braden Looper. Even those guys, when they got better, I mean, for years they were nothing, but when they got a little bit better and some of the closes they tried to run out there were just embarrassing. And Benitez, at least he got it done.
He gave a lot of great moments. I mean, one of the better seasons you've ever seen from a closer, probably the second best, right? I mean, other to the Familia season and what Diaz is doing, and it's not complete yet, but I mean, he had a 50-save season, right, Benitez? One point?
I think it was, yeah. Was it 2000 he had a 50-save season?
I think it might have been, one of those years, yeah.
He was, I mean, if you rank top 5 closers or top 3 in our Mets lifetime, let me ask you, Benitez or Franco?
See, I love John Franco.
Me too.
And like we've had a little bit of a relationship with him.
I texted him last week or something. He never texted me back, Franco. I'm disappointed with that. Yeah.
I'm gonna make you mad because I ended up texting him. So John Franco, my mom's a big Mets fan.
Yeah,
you know that.
Yeah.
Like your mom too, right? She's a
Mets fan. Not like your mom though, but yes, she gets it.
So it was her birthday in July. She loves John Franco. Always loved John Franco. She went to St. John's. He went to St. John's. Queens connection. Pitched for the Mets. Loves John Franco.
Right.
So I texted him, said, "Could you just a quick happy birthday
like
to
a
her?"
cameo type thing?"
Yeah. Gets back to me in 2 minutes with a video, and he's in Venice. Yeah.
Wow.
Recorded the video. So he clearly likes me more than he likes you.
100%. And I'm not going to forget that, Johnny. And I know him because I ran into him at SNY. Meanwhile, I'm thinking like he does this years ago. I'm like, he has no idea who I am. He comes over, Sal, what's up, man? So and I forget what it was, but I texted him about something stupid. It was about he was doing the show with Sweeney on SNY, like We Never Left, and it was about the 2000 World Series.
Oh, okay.
And Joe Torre goes on saying that he's defending Clemens for throwing the bat at Piazza by saying Piazza shouldn't have run. And Franco was on that, and I texted him something like, "Johnny, I can't believe you didn't fall off your chair when you heard Torre rip Piazza, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to get you on at some point soon." Nothing back.
Nothing back. Yeah. That's it. Total ignore.
And this is why,
When did this happen, though?
Last 2 weeks ago, maybe?
He's probably still in Italy. He might have been sleeping.
Yeah, no, I think he was actually, it was like they had a Mets event that night. It was so maybe it was just bad timing with that. Yeah. I think so. But still, the point is, like, this is why, I really don't even give a crap. And I do this and thinking that, like, what's the big deal? And nothing back. And I hear you go telling me that you get something back.
Yeah, right. Not only did I get a response,
like
immediately, and it was a video.
I know where I stand on the pecking order, Johnny. And don't. There's a lot of people. I got a list. I'm not going to forget. Things may be a certain way now. They won't be like that forever. No, but anyway, like I love Johnny as a closer, and I do like him as a person. But Benitez was
better.
More dominant.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I mean, John Franco didn't settle in until he was 3-0 on somebody, right? That's what it felt like.
Right. He sent you a nice video for your mom. Now you're going to rip him. Yeah.
I mean, he was just...
Johnny, he blew some leads, too, in those postseasons.
Right. He's like, all right, put 2 guys on, and now I'm ready to go. This is where I'm most comfortable.
Right. If they weren't swinging at the changeup in the dirt, Johnny had no shot.
Just carousel. All right, Boomer and Gio with Sal in for Boomer on this feel-good summer Friday on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.